Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're in our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things for folks living in San Diego County. Thrilled to have in the studio with us our friends from Turn Behavioral Health Services. We got Dr. Laura Otis-Miles. She is the EVP of the organization. How you doing, Laura?
Great.
Or you want me to call you Dr. Laura?
You can call me Laura.
I'm going to call you Laura. Joined by your colleague, Brad Bianchi. He's the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships. How you doing, Brad?
Pretty good, thank you.
Absolutely. How long have you been with the organization, Brad?
I have been with the organization 7 months now.
So you're a veteran. How about you, Laura?
Yes.
Almost 15 years. December 13th is my 15-year work anniversary.
Well, congratulations. I'm honored to have as my guest co-host Ian Solomon. He's a major in leadership at SDSU, and also has a big interest in journalism. So they foolishly had me speak in their journalism and media studies class, and that's where I met Ian. And so he's not only going to be observing how this works, we don't tell these guys ahead of time, but he's also going to be my guest co-host, and he's got a question for you right out of the bat, Laura.
Yeah, hey, Laura. My first question for you is, I was wondering what the mission of your organization is.
Great. Well, again, thank you, Drew, for having us on the show. I'm honored to represent Turn Behavioral Health Services. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, community-based organization committed to delivering innovative mental health, substance use, military veteran, supportive housing, and recovery services. For over 47 years, we've sought to improve behavioral health access for Medi-Cal beneficiaries across California, including those who are low income and either cannot afford privately paid services or for those where services are not otherwise available. With our diverse and culturally competent workforce of about 800, we serve approximately 14,000 clients at 60 programs operating statewide. Through promoting wellness, recovery, and resiliency, our mission is to improve the lives of youth, adults, families, and communities facing behavioral health challenges. Our integrated approach uses evidence-based practices and time-proven, compassionate, person-centered treatment throughout all phases of care.
You know, I was talking to Brad about this before you arrived, Laura, and we chat about this all the time. Our associate producer, Brandon Joe, also sits in on some of these interviews, and we must have done at least 50 of these that focus on mental health. And everyone likes to look at the pandemic, that's when it started. No, not quite. Mental health issues have been going on for quite a while, and I've never seen it at this crisis level. I'm preaching to the congregation, of course. But especially for youth, we've never seen it at this level. Talk about that, Laura.
Yeah. And, I want to focus in on the holidays as well. The holidays are often portrayed as a season of joy, right. But for many, such as children and teenagers and military families, they bring stress, loneliness, and financial strain. Nearly 64% of people report increased stress during the holidays, and just about this many say that the holidays are more stressful than tax season. And in turn, we see firsthand how these pressures can impact mental health, whether it's depression, anxiety about family dynamics and gatherings, grief over lost loved ones, or the weight of unrealistic expectations. During the holiday season, rates of depression and anxiety can spike by up to 20%, and this absolutely existed pre-pandemic.
Right, exactly on this. And, I was chatting with Brad before this, and certainly the holidays add to this, but there's so many other things that add, especially to the youth, pressures in education. You need to be taking these classes if you're going to get accepted to Harvard, whatever the case may be. And we just pile on so much, and I don't think we need to do it. Getting back to the holidays, though, it's so true. The pressure to maybe it's unlocking some challenging memories. Do people have enough money to spend in the holidays and all this business? Brad, talk about that.
Well, this is a unique climate, right? So we've got all sorts of stresses, political stresses, financial stresses, government shutdown, SNAP benefits, things like that. So this is so unique.
Right.
Right now, we're experiencing something that, and the doctor can speak to it better than I can, but we're experiencing something in a nonprofit world that, we just didn't see coming. It's a perfect storm of all these tremendous stresses that are hitting families, children, and vets. Vets now, we have a veterans program that we're seeing particular stresses and things we've never seen before.
Yeah, and we all know that it's tough enough as it is when you're getting the resources that barely get you by, initially. And now I just can't even imagine what these folks are thinking that those resources may not come back. Talk about that, Laura.
Mm-hmm. Well, 1 in 5 children, about 21% from the ages of 3 to 17, are diagnosed with a mental or behavioral health condition. Among adolescents, just over 20% of teenagers from the ages of 12 to 17 have a current mental or behavioral health condition. For these youth, holidays, school breaks disrupt routine, peer interactions, and extracurricular activities, which can leave more unstructured time, potentially increasing loneliness or behavioral challenges. For youth in vulnerable households, particularly those impacted by the recent government shutdown, studies show that anxiety and depression symptoms increase by up to 40% during the holiday season. Family stress, such as financial, relational, or parental mood, is caught by children, meaning their emotional states mirror their environment. So kids and teens pick up on financial or family stress or heightened emotions that might be happening around them. In San Diego County, over 60,000 children are military connected. So when their parents' federal or contractor jobs faced uncertainty during the government shutdown, the emotional and financial ripple ran deep through those family systems.
Yeah, exactly. You got a question for Laura, Ian?
I was wondering how you guys were meeting these challenges and what you were seeing happening from this.
For children and teens, holiday stressors can amplify feelings of anxiety, depression, or isolation, especially if they're already navigating mental health challenges. Our programs aim to provide stability and coping strategies during these high-stress periods. In collaborative partnership with County of San Diego Behavioral Health Services funding, we operate community and school-based counseling and teen recovery centers, which ensure access to care and that essential services are delivered even when the schools or the federal government are closed. Our programs provide counseling, peer support, and recovery services tailored to youth and families. We offer safe spaces for teens to process emotions, learn coping skills, and access substance use treatment. For families, we provide education and support to strengthen communication and resilience.
Yeah, we're chatting with our friends from Turn Behavioral Health Services. Joining us, Dr. Laura Otis-Miles, Executive Vice President for the organization, and her colleague, Brad Bianchi, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by the fine folks of Mission Fed Credit Union. 60 plus years of dealing with food insecurity, with the homeless, with arts, financial literacy, and everything in between. Just so pleased to have as my guest co-host, Ian Solomon. He is a student at San Diego State, majoring in leadership, and also has a great interest in journalism. And this would be an interest of yours as well on this one, Ian. So you're all about strategic partnerships. Brian, talk about those relationships.
Well, we boil it down to two things. We've got two types of partnerships. We've got our public partnerships, which are the government agencies that we work with. And then we got our private partnerships. And these are individuals, these are foundations and corporations. So to further answer your last question, we try to partner. Well, let's take a partnership that we have with another not-for-profit. So you ask how we're meeting some of these challenges, which was a great question. Our Courage to Call program. Every twice a month, we conduct a food distribution to veterans and their families. And so we partnered. We reached out because we needed more food for the current shutdown and so on and so forth, with Feeding San Diego. And we reached out to San Diego and we said, can you meet this increased need that we had? We had twice as many people coming through that program on a Sunday. So there's a partnership that we have with another not-for-profit, in addition to all the individuals that step up and help us. But there's also corporate partners. Marsh McLennan was just an agency that stepped up and met a match for our staff and for our board. So recognizing how important it is to us that staff and board give, they put a $10,000 match in place. So these partnerships are so important to us so that we can make great strides. I don't know that what Courage to Call would have done if Feeding San Diego said we couldn't help you here. And so they doubled the amount of distribution that they gave us. And that's what partnerships are all about. And that's what we're excited about, have these relationships.
Yeah, and Dr. Laura, there's so many things that tie into mental health and behavioral challenges on it. One of food insecurity, obviously, has got to be at the top of the list. And this for so many different reasons. Obviously, San Diego is not the cheapest place to live. To say that adds to it as well. But I always say this, I'm hoping I'm alive when mental health is not a stigma. And that has gone away. Maybe I'm being a foolish Pollyanna. No one's accused me of being a Pollyanna on that aspect of it. Are we making strides in that, Laura, where people are starting to say, no, mental health is it's an issue and we'll deal with it, versus, I can't talk about it?
I agree with you in that with so many people acknowledging that they are facing their own mental health challenges, whether it be depression or anxiety or a more serious condition, particularly in the media. We've seen increases in acknowledgments of that from Olympic athletes to other celebrities. And that goes a long way in terms of impacting youth, particularly teens who are online or on social media. What we know about teens is that they are impacted significantly with what they see online, and they compare themselves. There's a social comparison burden of what others are doing and what others are receiving, particularly during the holidays. And there's pressure around expectations, such as having the best holiday ever, which can lead to anxiety or depression. And without media and these outlets highlighting the challenges associated with depression and anxiety, it makes it more difficult for teens who might then internalize and not seek assistance from their parents or other caregivers or other resources at their school or within their community. Right.
We come back from break and we're going to ask Ian that question, since in all due respect, Ian and Brandon are a lot younger than me. Okay, maybe not that much younger than you two. In that aspect, we can see how they handle that, and then maybe even ask Brandon if he's interested, give his 2 cents. We could swing the mic over from you, Brian, to Brandon if he wants to add in on this one. We return Behavioral Health Services. Dr. Laura Otis-Miles, the Executive Vice President, joined by her colleague, Brad Bianchi, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Our program has been sponsored by Mission Federal Credit Union now for several years. We are the longest running community podcast in the nation, and we will be right back after this short message.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We're talking with our friends from Turn Behavioral Health Services, Dr. Laura Otis-Miles, Executive Vice President, and her colleague, Brad Bianchi, a veteran of 7 months with the organization. He's Vice President of Strategic Partnerships. Laura, right before break, you were just talking about the impact on social media, of course, with younger folks, and how do they deal with this and all that business. We're going to start with Ian on this. Ian Solomon is our guest co-host. He's a student at San Diego State University, a leadership major, also an interest in journalism. Talk about the impact of social media on you.
It's so interesting that we kind of take the conversation this direction, because as they were speaking before, that was kind of the main thing that kept coming to my mind, was just about, at least for like young students and teenagers, I think the thing that affects them the most is social media and the effect that has, because that's what we spend the majority of our time when we're not interacting with our friends or other students. We really do spend the majority of our time going through social media. And as young students and just young people in general, I think we're still trying to figure out and navigate this world. And we look to social media for answers or almost models of how we should be living our lives, so that when we see these big figures addressing and talking about social media, I think it's comforting, because it makes us see like, oh, it's okay to feel how I'm feeling, and I'm not the only one going through this.
Interesting. Brett, did you want to say a comment at all?
Oh, no, not at all. I absolutely agree with you. And I have young children, so I'm watching this, I'm witnessing it.
Yeah. And so with Ian,
on a daily basis.
And now I'll turn it over to Brandon. You feel the same way Ian does?
Absolutely. I think even more than that, it's a lot of what you're seeing is what affects your mental health. But I think a even bigger piece is how it affects our day-to-day lives. I think a lot of students nowadays don't know how to take a break. Our method of taking a break is going onto our phones, whether this is playing like a game or scrolling through social media, watching a YouTube video, or even when we're taking a break, but when we're eating, you rarely come across someone who is actually just sitting there and eating their meal and not scrolling on their phone as well. It's just constant stimulation at every single moment. And this is also kind of rolls into our sleep, because there's often times when you're just finishing up your work at the end of the day, you're looking for something to do to take a break, bam, right back on the phone, scrolling through social media or something. And it's built to engage you. And so if you pull up something that engages you right before you go to bed, of course you're going to keep engaging with it until you get like really, really tired. And you look at your clock, it's 2 a.m. You're like, crap. And I see this with a lot of my roommates at school. There's like probably a good 50% of my roommates last year scrolled on their social media at the end of the day. And you can tell like with their sleep schedules afterwards, and how they always talked about how they're tired and they're taking naps throughout the day all the time. It has a big effect.
Yeah, go ahead, Ian.
I was going off what Brandon was just saying too. And I speak with my roommates about the same thing. And it's not necessarily something we even enjoy. I think that it's more of this addiction, and it's like when you talk to them, they're like, oh, like, yeah, I haven't been scrolling as much recently. Like, they're like, oh, like, how do you do it? And it's like, it's almost like a drug that people are trying to like get away from, but it's like they can't help themselves. It's like it's a coping mechanism for everything.
Well, I'll ask Dr. Laura that. It is. There's enough studies that have shown that, correct, with the younger folks or college students, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And what we know is during holiday school breaks, there can be increased screen time during the downtime. And so in going back to speaking about children and teenagers a bit younger than both of you, that's impactful. And later bedtimes, less sleep during the holidays because of the change in the routine, and irregular meals during holiday breaks as well. These can all contribute to mood swings, for younger children, emotional outbursts, or for teenagers or young adults, withdrawal.
You know, we could spend hours on this, days on this aspect of it. But on your website, are there suggestions for parents or college students like Ian and Brandon to say, here's some things you might want to think about? The easiest thing to do is probably the toughest: put the doggone phone down, and leave it somewhere where you can't find. Have someone hide it, or whatever the case may be. I'm making this up, but are there some things on the Turn Behavioral Health Services website that says here are some ways that you can help?
I think that's a great recommendation. We are working currently on our website to provide more educational and informational material. Right now, the focus is primarily on describing so many of our different programs that we operate in collaboration with our funders in San Diego County and the other regions that we're in California. Brad, I don't know if you want
that's
to
a
speak
terrific
to
question.
our website.
Yeah, that's a terrific question. We've just revamped the website.
Right.
So we're taking all sorts of new ideas. One thing that people can do is they can go to our websites and see what our programs are.
Right.
So they can click up there and they can see what the programs are, and they can realize that there might be a program that fits them, and they can reach out to us for that. But you're right. We should incorporate something like that.
Well, I mean, some of them are pretty simple, to do. Maybe not to execute, but something to say in all that aspect of it. And as we were just mentioning with Ian and Brandon, I must admit, when you were explaining this, I'm going, I'm guilty, and I'm 105 years older than both of you guys. No wonder I can't sleep, for God's sake. I'm scrolling sports scores or whatever. I got an email I didn't deal with. Right next thing you know, it's 2 a.m, for God's sake, and I'm walking around like a zombie the next day. We're chatting with our friends from Turn Behavioral Health Services, Dr. Laura Otis-Miles, Executive Vice President, joined by her colleague, Brad Bianchi. He is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We're the nation's longest running community podcast. In our 20th year, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things for people living in San Diego County. Just honored to have as my guest co-host Ian Solomon, SDSU leadership major, and also very interested in journalism and media studies. We saved this part of the show where we have you, Laura, and you, Brad, go ahead and talk a little bit about what can our listeners do to support your efforts. We'll start with you on that, Brad. What can we do?
Well, I would just say, did you know that about 30% of giving happens in December? And about 60% of giving happens the last quarter of the year. So we would just hope to be in everyone's minds and hearts as they look into what we're all about. We're a 47-year-old institution. We rebranded in 2021. So if you talk to a lot of people about Turn, they don't know what Turn is. So one of our things is to get the word out, to let people know that we operate 60 programs throughout California. Yeah. We have between 14 and 15,000 people we can serve a day, 47 years old, and we've got a history of just meeting the need in the community. So kind of look into us and find out what we're all about as you think about your end of year giving.
Right. And what's the website?
Website is turnbhs.org, behavioralhealthservices.org.
Yeah. And Laura, the same thing. Obviously, pay attention to your families or your loved ones or your colleagues or your roommates like Ian is. And, listen, support is so critical. Brad, you brought it up so right. We're in a very different time when it comes to funding certain things right now, and that just piles on with some of the stress on this. Laura, what I'd love to do, if you're okay, don't want to break any HIPAA laws. That's not our job over here. But we often will invite clients or people that are comfortable to talk about their situation. And we've done this in the mental health world. We've done this with addiction, that they're happy to share their story because if it helps somebody else for getting some help on this. One of the things we talk about quite a bit on our show here, Brandon knows this because he also, we do some things, one of our close friends are with the San Diego Council on Literacy. and there's a boatload of folks that are functionally illiterate in San Diego County, no different than any other major city or community. But if we don't know you need the help to read, okay, because you're ashamed, which is I totally understand, we can't help you. Is it the same thing with mental health a little bit on that, Laura? People don't want to admit they have issues, so they don't seek the help?
I think for our clients, I can tell you that we would absolutely enjoy that opportunity. We have so many alumni who have been successful in receiving our services and have graduated, and we actually encourage our clients to give back by participating in our alumni associations, or even in the case of our teen who has been successful, mentoring other youth in the program and supporting their recovery from alcohol and drug use. And so we have the range, but absolutely of our adult clients would be absolutely willing to participate. And I think that, again, going back to the impact of social media and whether it be youth, young adults, or even the older folks, looking at online, seeing folks come forward and talk about their stories, their journeys of recovery and rehabilitation really helps normalize it and create opportunities for others to be empowered to become more brave to talk about their own issues and see.
Well, consider it done. So we're going to have you folks on regularly, maybe once a quarter. Think about how you want to talk about these things. People can always go to the website and see the programs you offer, but when they hear from the voices of the people that are doing it, one will continue to get your brand out as you rebrand this. And we'd love to have you come back in January if you're interested.
That'd be terrific.
We'll consider that done. An absolute pleasure talking to you, Dr. Laura Otis-Miles, Executive Vice President of Turn Behavioral Health Services, joined by her colleague, Brad Bianchi. He's the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships. Ian, how'd you like your first co-hosting job?
This was incredible. Fascinating to hear your guys' story.
Well, first of all, you did a great job. You're very poised. I think you got a career in this as well.
Thank you.
And really appreciate you doing that. And to our audience, we hope you enjoyed hearing from Turn Behavioral Health Services. Take a look at their website. Contribute if you can. And hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.